A woman suddenly suspected that her beloved father was very similar to the murderer who had been on the run for 15 years, because the voice and speaking rhythm of the murderer in the movie were exactly the same as her father's. It turned out that in 1988, a horrific child kidnapping case occurred in South Korea. After the kidnapper demanded 100 million won from the family, he not only did not release the boy, but also cruelly put him in a box and sank it to the bottom of the sea. The incompetent police investigated for 15 years without any clues. A director not only made a movie about the case and put it on the screen, but also released the recording of the real murderer at the end of the film. Ji-yoon's scalp tingled. The last sentence was actually a catchphrase she had heard since she was a child. It's not over until it's over. After watching the movie, Ji-yoon was extremely worried. She couldn't imagine that her simple and honest father would be a murderer. In order to overturn her doubts, she downloaded the murderer's recording and listened to it over and over again. But no matter how she hypnotized herself, the feeling of certainty kept her awake at night. From childhood to adulthood, her father's love for Ji-yoon was as deep and majestic as a mountain. He is hardworking and honest, and has been working like a workhorse to earn money to support the family. Based on Ji-yoon's understanding of her father, how could he be the murderer? However, as the film ferments, the case is once again discussed by public opinion. Time is about to pass 15 years, the last week of the effective prosecution period. After completely eliminating Han Hui, Ji-yoon began to check her father's belongings, mobile phone contacts, and all the videos stored on the computer. However, to her embarrassment, she turned out to be a pornographic movie. One day, she suddenly remembered that her father would go fishing on weekends, but always returned empty-handed. She found it very strange, so she followed her father, but she didn't expect that her father was secretly working as a designated driver behind her back. She saw him nodding and bowing to the guests, sleeping in the open air, just to make more money to support the family. At night, her father was harassed by a female customer. The female customer refused to give in. Ji-yoon wrestled with her. They were caught and taken to the police station. Her father knelt down in front of the police officer and kept apologizing. Ji-yoon was very ashamed and blamed herself. She had depended on her father since her mother died of dystocia when she was young. She doubted no one but her father. Just when life was getting back on track, a strange man broke their peace. He rushed into the house and overturned the tribute. Ji-yoon didn't know him at all, but he knew everything about this family. He threatened her father for a large sum of money. It seemed that her father had something on him. It was the first time that Ji-yoon saw her father's ferocious look. She thought of the previous recording. It was all too strange. She found her police boyfriend to investigate and learned that the man was a gangster. Not only did he have various criminal records and did all kinds of evil, but he also had a seriously ill sister named Shen Mei-yu. Ji-yoon's mother, who died of dystocia, was also named Shen Mei-yu. How could there be such a coincidence? As Ji-yoon and her boyfriend continued to investigate, the cruel truth made Ji-yoon shudder. The woman lying on the hospital bed was her mother, Shen Mei-yu. Ji-yoon was puzzled. Why did her father lie to her? Could he be the murderer who escaped? Ji-yoon seemed to have confirmed her guess. She played the recording to her father unscrupulously and asked her father loudly why he wanted to kill people. If it was really my father, I wouldn't call the police. Seeing her father's tearful denial, Ji-yoon temporarily felt relieved. At this time, there were still 4 days left before the 15-year effective prosecution period. That is, after 4 days, even if the murderer was caught, the law could not punish him. The news reports intensified. Ji-yoon also saw the interview with the murdered boy's father, Lao Han. She was surprised to find that she and the boy were born in the same hospital. In order to find out the truth, and to prove that her father was not the real murderer, Ji-yoon used this coincidence to disguise herself as a columnist and went to interview Lao Han. However, on the day of the incident, the kidnappers not only left a recording, but also left a note with the address for handing over the ransom. Ji-yoon was flustered when she saw the note. The handwriting on it was obviously written by a child, an elementary school student. Whether it was his own child or the neighbor's child, it was undoubtedly extremely important evidence. And the handwriting on it was not someone else but Ji-yoon in her childhood. At that time, her father would practice dictation for her every day, beside the elevated road, in front of the bakery, in the trash can. Looking at the handwriting, Ji-yoon trembled and collapsed on the ground. This means that not only is her father a demon, but she is also an accomplice in this vicious incident. Angry and terrified, Ji-yoon took a stick and scolded him heartbreakingly, but her father still denied it with an innocent look on his face. Look carefully, the handwriting of children is almost the same. Because Ji-yoon's boyfriend leaked the news, a large number of police officers have arrived at the door of the house. Lao Han also came after hearing the news. When he heard his father's voice, he pushed him to the ground like crazy. The father's head was broken and he fell into a coma and lay in a pool of blood. The police sent the father to the hospital. The doctor said it might take a few days for him to wake up, but at this time there were only 3 days left before the end of the public prosecution period. The police could only search the house in a hurry. They turned the house upside down but did not find Ji-yoon's childhood handwriting because these handwritings had long been destroyed by Ji-yoon. Although the man was accused of murder, he was the father who raised Ji-yoon. There was only 1 day left before the end of the public prosecution period. Facing the police officer's questioning, Ji-yoon denied everything. Now she has become her father's accomplice. The police officer pressed on step by step, describing the cruel scene of the murderer's crime, but Ji-yoon still kept silent. The furious Lao Han grabbed Ji-yoon and said, "Your father is the murderer, right? You remember it all, right? That note was clearly written by you. Please tell the truth." At this time, Ji-yoon's father had woken up. The police immediately collected voice records for verification. There were still 3 hours before the end of the public prosecution period. A large number of media had arrived outside the ward. Everyone was anxiously waiting for the results. Finally, the voice print verification report was released. "You can go home. The voices don't match. Could it be that my father is really not the murderer?" Ji-yoon dragged her father to the crime scene with full of suspicion. There were only 5 minutes left before the end of the public prosecution period. Ji-yoon's conscience was whipped and burned. She wanted to know the final truth. Time skipped 12 o'clock until the end. It's not the end. The father only showed a strange and evil smile. The public prosecution period has passed, and he has truly escaped the punishment of the law. He is the real murderer of the major child murder case that has been hidden for 15 years. Ji-yoon was stunned. At this moment, Lao Han rushed over in a car. Since the law could not punish him, he killed the devil himself. After the violent explosion of the vehicle, the truck fell to the bottom of the lake. This time, even though the prosecution period has passed, like karma, my father has sunk to the bottom of the lake where he threw the child. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like the video to help our channel out.